White Smoke of Tomorrow, a post-Francis papal election story. As the bells of St. Peter's Basilica toll somberly, the world watches in collective reverence and reflection. Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope and the first from the Americas, has passed. His papacy, marked by humility, reformist zeal, and a renewed focus on the marginalized, leaves a complicated but deeply influential legacy. Now the Church faces a momentous crossroads. The College of Cardinals is called to Rome for the conclave. Behind the locked doors of the Sistine Chapel, 120 electors, cardinals under the age of 80, will cast ballots to choose the next pope. But who will emerge from the shadows into the light of the papacy? And what direction will the Church take in an era marked by global fragmentation and internal ideological tensions? The factions within the conclave. The college is not monolithic. It comprises cardinals of differing theological and political leanings, many of whom were appointed by Francis himself, more than 70% of the current cardinal electors. However, even among Francis appointees, there is diversity. Progressive reformists, Francis aligned. These cardinals are inspired by Francis's vision of a pastoral, synodal church. They favor decentralization, dialogue with modernity, and a more inclusive church. They are likely to support someone who will continue his reforms. Traditional conservatives. This group believes the Church has strayed too far from doctrinal clarity and discipline. They want a return to a more centralized, dogmatically firm papacy, and could rally behind a figure who will re-emphasize liturgical tradition and moral absolutism. Global South rising. Increasingly, voices from Africa, Asia, and Latin America are influencing the Church's direction. These cardinals often blend theological orthodoxy with a strong emphasis on social justice and community outreach. Potential papabile, the frontrunners and the wild cards. Here are several cardinals who are widely discussed as possible successors. 1. Cardinal Matteo Zuppi, Italy. Age 69, ideological leaning, progressive, why he might be chosen. As the Archbishop of Bologna and president of the Italian Bishops' Conference, Zuppi combines Franciscan empathy with diplomatic skill. Known for his involvement in peace negotiations and social work, he could carry forward Francis's legacy while being a stabilizing Italian voice in a historically Italian papacy. Second Cardinal Peter Turkson, Ghana. Age 76, ideological leaning. Moderate, why he might be chosen. Turkson has long been seen as a papabile. He brings an African voice to the global church and is known for his work on climate change and economic inequality. While close to Francis in outlook, he's viewed as capable of bridging ideological divides within the Curia. Third Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, Philippines. Age 67, ideological leaning. Strongly progressive. Why he might be chosen. Former Archbishop of Manila and current prefect of the Dicastery for Evangelization, Tagle is deeply loved by the faithful and has charisma in spades. He's seen as a Francis protege and represents the growing power of the Asian Church. However, his relative lack of curial experience may work against him. Fourth, Cardinal Robert Sarah, Guinea. Age 79, ideological leaning, conservative. Why he might be chosen. Popular among traditionalists, Cardinal Sarah is a staunch defender of orthodoxy and the Latin Mass. While at the edge of the age limit, his election would signal a dramatic pivot away from Francis's reforms back to a more austere theological papacy. 5. Cardinal Jean-Claude Hollerich, Luxembourg. Age 66, ideological leaning, progressive, why he might be chosen. A key figure in the Synod on Synodality, Hollerich is deeply involved in shaping the Church's future governance model. Fluent in several languages and intellectually agile, He represents the European progressive wing. Wild card, Cardinal Christoph Schönborn, Austria, age 80, just at the limit. Ideological leaning, moderate why he might be chosen. A respected theologian and peacemaker, Schönborn has maintained credibility across ideological lines. His age is a concern, but in a deeply divided conclave, he could emerge as a compromise candidate. What will shape the vote? Several forces will be in play. The need for continuity versus change. Will the Cardinals choose a second Francis or someone who promises to rebalance the Church? Geopolitical representation. Will the next pope come from the global south, reflecting Catholicism's demographic shift? Crisis management. With declining church attendance in the West and increasing persecution elsewhere, cardinals may prioritize leadership over symbolism. Synodality. The Church is in the middle of a major synodal process. The next pope must decide whether to institutionalize or roll back these changes. Post-election scenarios, depending on who is elected, we may see a Francis II. If someone like Tegel or Hollerich is chosen, expect a deepening of synodal governance and more openness to issues like married priests and the role of women in the Church. A return to tradition. A conservative like Sarah would halt current reforms and reassert doctrinal authority. A bridging figure, someone like Turkson or Zuppi, could offer both continuity and reconciliation, aiming to heal internal rifts without radical shifts. I conclude saying that Catholic Church is at crossroads. The next conclave will not merely choose a pope, it will define what the Church will be for the next generation. In a world fractured by ideology and plagued by injustice, the next pontiff must be both a spiritual shepherd and a geopolitical statesman. Will the Church double down on mercy and inclusion, or rediscover the stern clarity of tradition? As the Sistine Chapel's doors close, only one certainty remains. The white smoke will signal not just a new leader, but a new chapter in the 2,000-year story of Catholicism.